Hey guys, welcome back here to today's edition of Advanced Bass Fishing, and appreciate you guys checking out today's episode. Guys, today I'm going to show you the 3 lures and 3 techniques that's going to give you a better chance of catching a bass over 4 pounds this spring than any other technique out there, specifically between now and like the first part of April. The 3 that I'm going to talk about here, if you focus on these 3 baits and you focus on the type of areas I'm going to talk about in today's video, you're going to catch some quality fish for sure. It's just consistent every single year. We're going to get into that in today's episode here. Also, guys, for get started, a couple quick things. Spinnerbait has still got their President's Day sale going on my Signature Series glasses. RB2s, RB3s here, 30% off, including 30% off on prescription lenses with them. So I'll have the Spinnerbait link in the description of this video if you guys would like to get one there. And also, guys, thank you very much for everybody that sent me a message about my on-the-water lessons. If you're interested in booking an on-the-water lesson with me, just go to my Facebook page, Intuitive Angling with Randy Blaukat, then shoot me a private message and we'll get you the details there, so appreciate it. Okay, we're coming up, time to film this video, we're in towards the end of February. We're coming up on the prime time of the year to catch big bass. And I think personally, the best time to catch a quality fish is the month of March. I think there's more good fish up shallow in March than about any other time of the year. So if you focus on fishing in March and you focus on the 3 techniques that I'm talking about here today, your odds of catching a good one go way through the roof here. So I'm sorry about my voice. I got a cold I'm dealing with right now. I can barely talk here. Okay, now we talk about this type of stuff quite a bit on the channel as far as the seasonal movements and patterns of these fish, where they move up to. So the lures that I'm going to talk about are for it's sort of like for the first wave of pre-spawn fish when they start moving up. Because normally what happens is that water temperature starts to get into the 50s, specifically like the mid 50s in March, there's more quality fish, like 3 to 5 pounders that start to move shallow than about any other time of the year. And if you intersect them and are at the right place with the right technique, your odds of catching, those quality fish go way up. So let's get into the 3 baits that I really like to fish and talk about that. Now, the first one, we've been talking about this bait quite a bit the last couple weeks, and that's a big giant spinnerbait. 3/4 ounce spinnerbait. This is a number 8 willow leaf here, number 7 or number 8, with a big trailer on it here. But guys, a big spinnerbait is probably going to be your number 1 big bass bait as far as giving yourself a realistic chance of catching a big one. Spinnerbait is an excellent bait to fish in the month of March, all over the country. It doesn't matter if you have rock or grass or wood. It works everywhere when the water's in the 50s. It works in clear water, it works in stained water, works in about a ton of different conditions. But the thing that you want to remember about a big spinnerbait is it's pretty conditional in terms of you have to have like the right type of weather pattern for this. Since this is a big fish lure, the fish have to be pretty aggressive to bite it. This is not going to be a good bait on like a real bright, post-frontal day where you got bluebird skies and not much wind. In order for the big spinnerbait to really be effective and catch big ones on it, you need some wind and preferably some clouds with it both. You don't necessarily have to have the clouds if you have water clarity that's a little bit more stained, but you definitely need some wind. The wind makes a huge difference on a big spinnerbait bite, makes all the difference in the world. So I like to have a windy day. My favorite big spinnerbait type day is when the wind's blowing 15 or 20 miles an hour. It just seems like it activates those shallower fish, makes them more aggressive on these bigger reaction baits like this. That's what I'm looking for. So the perfect scenario weather-wise would be some type of a warm spring day with some overcast and a windy condition. Perfect with it. Now, the water clarity window, it's going to work anywhere between 1 foot to 4 foot of clarity is about the window for that. If you have water clarity of 3 to 4 foot, you really need to have some clouds in order for the big spinnerbait to work. If you got dirtier water, like that water visibility is down around 12 inches, you can still catch them on sunny conditions. But just slow rolling these things, guys, around those staging areas. Over the top of submergent grass works real good with the big spinnerbait. Slow rolling it down channel banks, slow rolling it down just rocky banks, next to the edge of a brush pile or something. Really good way to catch a giant bass, on those wind-blown banks especially. Okay, the next one, a very similar situation, full-size jig. This is my Blaukat Throwback jig here, 3/8 ounce, Zoom Super Chunk on it. And guys, I'll have all three of the baits I'm talking about in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description of this video. If you guys would like to order one of my jigs or spinner baits or everything we're talking about, you can use that link there. So anyway, full-size jig is going to be a really good bait with it. Colors are all over the board. I mean, if the water's visibility is like over 2.5 foot, over 2.5 foot, I'm usually using some type of a brown orange, solid brown purple, something like that, green pumpkin chunk. If you got stained water visibility of 1 to 2 foot, the black and blue works really good. This is the black and blue tinsel model here. But these are going to be my two choices for the pre-spawn period in March. Okay, now the jig's a little bit different in terms of where you want to fish it at during the pre-spawn, because a jig is going to be for those fish that are not chasing. They're going to be for the bass that are a little less active. So I like to go to the jig on those days where they don't really want the spinnerbait. So a jig's going to be a good choice if you have like a sunny day with not much wind on it. So perfect jig scenario here, guys, it would be water visibility of about 1 to 2 foot. It would be a sunny day or partly cloudy day with not much wind. And then I'm fishing it around whatever cover's available and targeting shade if I can. If there's grass, I'm pitching it in the grass. If there's bluff banks or channel banks, I'm pitching it to the rock. If I come up on a dock, I'm pitching it around that, lay down tree, whatever. But the jig is a really good bait on a little bit brighter conditions, or if the water's got a lot of color to it, jig works really good. And day in and day out, when you're talking about the difference between the two of the best big bass lures, which is a jig and a spinnerbait, it's very condition oriented, because both of these will work in the same type of water. But again, the spinnerbait's going to be better on those windier, lower light conditions. The jig's going to be better on the calmer, more sunny conditions. That's how you determine the two. Okay, and finally, the third one, and this is one that's probably not going to get you as many bites as the spinnerbait and the jig. The spinnerbait and the jig, the thing that's nice about it is you can catch big ones on it, yet you can still get quite a few bites on them. But this one we're talking about, this is the 8-inch Megabass Magdraft. This is going to be for big ones. You're not going to get a lot of bites on it, but the window for the 8-inch Magdraft is in the month of March when the water temperature's in the 50s. That's when you want to throw this thing, and that's when you want to throw the big one like this. Prime example, guys, is I was up at Lake the Ozarks this weekend fishing that BFL tournament, and there was a bunch of gizzard shad shallow. I mean, a lot of gizzard shad that were 6 to 8 inches long. I could see them swimming along the bank, and this is what those bass are feeding on in March, is a big bait. So the big swim bait like the Magdraft works really good. Now, the Magdraft, it is very conditional too. In fact, it is extremely conditional. So if you want to catch some fish on a Magdraft, here are the windows that you have to land within. Number one, you need water visibility of at least 2.5 feet or so. My perfect water visibility is like 2.5 to maybe 5 foot of clarity. I want some clean water because this is a sight bait. Magdrafts don't work that good in stained water. You can catch some fish on them, but they're better if you have a little bit of water clarity with it. Next, with the big swim bait, just like with the big spinner bait, you got to have wind. You're not going to catch many on it if the wind is not blowing. So I like a windy day, just like I do with the spinner bait. And again, I prefer a low light day because all of the factors combined, the wind and the low light conditions, it makes them where they're apt to make a mistake and commit to this thing. This is a big bait. So you do not want a situation where the fish can study this thing. So if it's bright out with not much wind, they swim up to this big Magdraft and they can see that thing is freaking giant and it looks like a fish, but it doesn't look exactly like a fish. And they'll swim away from it. But if you have cloudy, windy conditions, they tend to make a little bit more of a mistake. And one of the things about the big Magdraft is I like to fish it over deeper water because one of the things I found out about the Magdraft is they don't like to come at it horizontally. They like to come up on it. So I want to throw the big Magdraft over deep water access areas. So I'm going to be fishing it off of deeper points on steep banks, like bluff banks and stuff, like over 5, 10, 15 foot of water where those fish can actually come up and get it. Probably my favorite place to fish a big Magdraft during the pre-spawn in March is on some type of main lake or secondary point that breaks off pretty quick. So I'll put my boat in like 25 or 30 foot of water, cast it up there, just start slow reeling it and try to keep it about halfway through the water column in whatever depth that I'm fishing. So if the water is 5 foot deep, I'm going to keep the bait about 2.5 foot down. If the water's 20 foot deep, I'm going to let it fall down to about 10 feet. I want it through the middle of the water column, will pull those fish off the bottom to come and get it. So guys, here's my three right here. Big spinnerbait, jig, 8-inch Magdraft. Again, I'll link all these in the Tackle Warehouse link. I can promise you, if you go out and you get a day like the day where I'm talking about, when you get the right set of conditions and you just commit to those baits, you're going to catch some big ones. But it's like anything else, guys. When you're fishing for big fish, you got to have this mentality shift that you're not going to get a lot of bites. I mean, that's just the thing with it. So it requires a different approach. It's like if you want to catch big ones, you've got to fish for big ones, because if you're not specifically fishing for big ones, any big fish you catch is just going to be random. It's going to be like very inconsistent and just no rhyme or reason. But if you concentrate on the areas that I'm talking about with the big lures, your odds of consistently catching those big ones, they go way up. But one of the things that, like I said, that you need to really remember if you want to catch big ones is you've got to have this attitude change that, okay, I got 3 baits out here on the deck. I got the Magdraft, I got the big jig, I got the big spinnerbait, and I'm not going to pick up another bait. I'm going to fish them all day long, and I'm going to look for that type of water. And by making that commitment and not putting the thing down and, you know, they're not biting it, and so you want to pick up a jerk bait or wiggle wart just to get a bite. If you do that, you're never going to catch those big ones consistently, because the guys that catch big fish consistently on big baits are the guys that make commitments to those baits. So anyway, I hope it helps you guys catch some. We'll talk later.